podcast for teens by teens, where we look at mental health through our perspective. Today we'll be talking about political correctness. My name's Tom.
And my name's Gordon. And as Tom just said, we'll be looking at political correctness and how it has evolved over time, how it affects us, and how it affects you. So we have a couple of songs coming up. First off, we'll give you a song, then we can jump straight into the action. See you soon.
Trying to find my place. I try to reach out, but everyone walks away. I'm full of fear and I wanna leave. I don't fit in, everyone ignores me. I feel alone, this doesn't feel like home. Why am I here? I'm afraid this ain't okay. This place has every heart cold. They treat me wrong, like I don't belong. No, I've got no one to hold. I'm an outcast who's trying to fit in. I'm an outcast who's trying to fit in. I'm an outcast who's trying to fit in. Why won't anyone let me in? I feel tense, insane, I'm losing my happiness. Ooh, I'm an outcast, I'm supposed to go through this. I'm having trouble looking for an empty seat, 'cause everyone saved them and none were meant for me. I walk down these hallways feeling like I'm nobody. I'm afraid this ain't okay. This place has every heart cold. They treat me wrong, like I don't belong. No, I've got no one to hold. I'm an outcast who's trying to fit in. I'm an outcast who's trying to fit in. I'm an outcast who's trying to fit in. Why won't anyone let me in? Oh, all I want is to be known, so I won't have to ever feel alone. You just shut me out, and I don't know why. What can I do to make it alright? What can I do to be let in? I just want you to let me in. I'm an outcast, I wanna fit in. I'm a lonely girl looking for a friend. I'm afraid this ain't okay. This place has every heart cold. They treat me wrong, like I don't belong. No, I've got no one to hold. I'm an outcast who's trying to fit in. I'm an outcast who's trying to fit in. I'm an outcast who's trying to fit in. Why won't anyone let me in? I'm an outcast, I wanna fit in. I'm an outcast, I won't fit in. I'm not supposed to fit in. No one will ever let me in.
We hope you enjoyed that song. As always, you can find all our songs in the description and on our website if you head over there. Tom has a couple of things to say about political correctness, his take on it as of now, so I'll hand it over to you, Tom.
Well, political correctness it's kind of a topical thing that I don't really know what I'm talking about at the moment. Political correctness has kind of gotten a little bit more fame, I guess could be a word to describe it. Infamy, yeah. It's gained a little bit of popularity in recent media, and by recent I mean like a couple years, not really like recent, like a week. But
well, I suppose the medium's changed. It's always been around. It's been around since the 80s, 90s, and even 70s. If you look at some books, newspapers, documents. But yeah, over the past 5 years, it's gotten, because of different issues coming up, like presidential election in the US, gender inequalities, racism, all that stuff is coming out again. It's become a topic for the news.
Yeah, but what is political correctness? Basically, it's kind of making sure you don't offend anyone, which when I kind of had a look at political correctness in depth, I kind of thought it's a little bit stupid how sometimes we have to always follow this. Like, I mean, obviously it's good. Like, obviously...
It's good to remain politically correct at all times, but sometimes if it means that you're not actually correct, it can be annoying for those making the media and those listening to the media looking for truthful stories or accurate accounts of things that have happened.
Yeah, like, as I said, political correctness is about not offending people. So basically, to be politically correct, you can't really say things that obviously are gonna
if they're sensitive subjects.
Yeah,
you can't talk about it
subject.
freely. You have to be very careful with what you say.
The thing that kind of annoys me though is sometimes the political correctness actually stops us from voicing our opinions and concerns on very important topics. Like, there's some things that we can't say, even though it's our own opinion, it's still going to offend people, which it's not our fault if it offends people, it's theirs, because they're the people taking offense, even though this is just what we think. And it doesn't carry over to what everyone kind of is trying to push, it's just what we as a single person think or believe in.
No, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I had a bit of a think about this earlier. If you have an opinion, which you have a right to in most of the world, if you have an opinion and you voice it...
Most of the world?
I gotta be politically correct. I can't say all of the world, you know. See, that's where it gets hard. But no, if you have an opinion and you voice it and people get offended, if it's your opinion and you're not recounting something that you didn't do, you didn't say, if it's your opinion, you have the right to that opinion. And if people get offended by it, that is, I don't want to be sounding a bit evil here, but that is their problem by definition. If you make a statement that is not your opinion, you see it as a fact, and you take that fact, change the words up, and it offends someone, that is your fault, because you could take a fact, say it as it's said, or change it to be not politically incorrect, and say it as it's supposed to be said, I suppose ethically. Then when it doesn't offend someone, that's a good thing, because not only are they, I suppose, happy, but you don't get you don't become the subject of a flame war, so to say. Do you know what a flame war is, Tom?
I do not know what flame war is.
It's a thing that happened back in the days of MySpace.
Oh
yeah, yeah. See, I'm used to nowadays.
I never actually used MySpace.
I actually have an account. I still have it. I don't use it at all.
I don't think anyone uses their
MySpace. I think it's progressed onto Tumblr and 4chan.
Yeah, I was about to ask, what is MySpace?
Yeah, so it's like Facebook, but older.
But yeah.
less of a $1 billion deal.
And not filled with memes.
Oh yeah, MySpace is just a chat platform, and yeah, it's sort of progressed onto Tumblr forums, 4chan forums. Flame wars are when someone says something, and someone doesn't agree with it. They attack back at them.
Yeah,
they say things, and then it like progresses onto a full-blown assault, so to say.
I've heard of the term flame war, but I never really knew what it was, except that I kind of knew it was like an online kind of argument thing. But now I kind of understand what it is.
So it's pretty much people throwing deprecating comments at each other until one of them just can't take it anymore and
just gives up.
Leaves, pretty much. It's the closest thing you can get to an online war.
Right. So it's
without being an online war. Yeah.
So it's basically like a cyber war in a way.
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was I saying? Flame wars. Yeah. You don't become the subject of a flame war if you're saying things correctly. But if you're saying things politically correctly, it doesn't necessarily mean it is actually correct. I can say something to make everyone happy, but
that doesn't mean it's the truth.
Doesn't mean it's always the truth, because the truth most of the time is not a good thing. If you read in the news, most stories are bad stories because bad stories are shocking to people. People read the news more often. The people who own the news corporations get more money through ads and revenue and selling newspapers, if they still sell newspapers.
They still sell newspapers.
Yeah, well, yeah, but depending on the company.
Yeah, true.
So you've got to find a balance between being politically correct and being actually correct, because people want real news but don't want to be offended at the same time.
It's like, it's kind of like telling a white lie, but also not. That makes no sense whatsoever.
Right.
It's kind of
I'm
like...
going to try and comprehend this. Hold on.
It's kind of like you want to say the truth, but at the same time you can't, because people will not agree with it. And then
so telling the truth is often the worst scenario than telling a lie, even though it's not ethically correct.
Which is why sometimes you can't really go off of what news outlets kind of put in their sources, because you don't know if they're actually telling you the truth or if they're just saying this so that they have more people read their stuff.
Yeah. I've been looking at some the memes that have been centering around the Sean Spicer, and you know Sean Spicer, the press secretary for the United States President.
That's right.
Donald Trump. He's been temporarily replaced by Susan. I forgot her last name.
Susan.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But the memes centering around that, the political correct terms that they're using, or in Sean Spicer's more recent case, not using, have really had an effect on how people view him. Saturday Night Live had their own take on it, and you can search up some videos on what they thought about the situation. But it shows that depending on how you say how you say things, it does change how people see you. And if you're a media mogul, and
a media mogul,
I don't know, if you're putting things out to the media and you want people to see what you're saying, you have to keep people seeing what you're saying for as long as you can. If you want to make money, that's how you do it. If you don't want to make money, make sure you get the message that you're trying to convey across. And to do this, you need to keep people happy so they still want to view your media. And to do this, you need to find a good balance between correctness and political correctness, because if you're not politically correct, people won't listen to a radio show. They won't watch the news. They won't read the news because they're getting offended by it.
Yeah, who would want to watch something or read something that makes them feel infuriated? Yeah.
At the same time, if you're saying things that are blatantly incorrect, people will fire up, and they'll come at you with the science.
Come up with your science.
Yeah.
I thought you were about to say come up with your pitchforks, but okay.
I don't know. They'll come up with true facts and destroy you from the inside, and that's not good either. So it's easy to see how it can be a bit annoying for the people who make the media.
Yeah. It must be really tough, actually, because you really have to think about what you're putting in there and putting into your sources, because you don't know what is going to create a reaction and whether that reaction is going to be a negative or positive.
Mm-hmm.
So you really have to kind of take a big leap whenever you're posting stuff. And I guess this doesn't really apply just to news or media outlets.
Like the third-party organizations.
Yeah, plus it also kind of applies to just anyone in general.
Yeah, YouTubers.
Like YouTubers,
Twitch streamers.
Just us.
People who write blogs.
Yeah,
forums.
bloggers, vloggers, and even us, just ordinary people.
Yeah.
Because
we're creating media that goes to the outside world. Anyone can watch this. Doesn't mean anyone will, doesn't mean anyone will want to, but anyone can watch it and pull us apart if they so wish. That's why it's hard for us to find, to say what we have to say without being politically incorrect and offensive.
Oh, I'm generally a polite and nice person, and I will not say things to offend people, but then...
say that.
I say that. No, but if I
that.
have an opinion, if I have an opinion that I want to voice, then I feel strongly about, then I will. And if people get offended by it, that's not my fault. So tough luck. I'm not changing my opinion just because you get offended by it. Because that's what I think.
It's his opinion. Yeah. It's his job to have it. It's his job to convey it if he so wishes. And it's not his job to be offended by it or stop the viewers of his comments being offended by it.
But I feel like that's the big problem with political correctness, is that some people see it as a necessity for almost every aspect. I think I said this at the start, that you can't, that I don't think political correctness is like a huge importance, because yes, as I've said, it's good because it avoids you offending people on obvious subject matters, whether it be like cultural or religious or anything. It avoids you from offending those people, but there are some things that really don't matter because they're entirely opinionated. Like, I'm not going to give any examples, but just
keep it safe, Tom.
Yeah, I need to be politically correct. I'm not going to give any examples.
Yeah.
Carry
on.
Those small things that really, like, if someone has a hobby that some people don't agree with or think isn't I don't know, proper or formal or anything, which kind of is stupid,
Yeah,
because
I see what you mean.
can a hobby be formal? But
if it's not the way to go for whatever reason that people
yeah,
seem fit
like
to
if
call
some
it
people
out on.
think, hey, that doesn't classify as a hobby or sport, or
It's not valid.
that's not valid as a fun thing to do. That's someone's opinion, and if they have that opinion that they think your hobby is stupid or whatever,
That's their opinion.
just
It's
ignore 'em.
it's your choice to ignore the comments that make you feel uneasy.
Like,
and
if you
sometimes it's
find
hard
it fun, if you find it fun, then it is fun.
Yeah.
It is fun because
And
you
it
are
sh-
enjoying yourself.
Yeah, it should be their problem that they're unable to take in that it's actually fun for you, that you're enjoying yourself, and that they can't deal with the fact that you're having fun with it.
Now, of course, this doesn't apply to everything. Like,
Yeah.
some things that some people find fun, you might actually not be acceptable,
Yeah.
both socially or legally. But because
So-
I'm saying this, I'm thinking, oh, actually, hang on, there's some people that are kind of psychotic. I probably
Yep.
shouldn't. But you understand our point, I presume.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that's our job,
Yeah.
to make sure that's the case.
No, that's our point of getting our point across.
That's a good one, Tom. Yeah.
I'll refer to something later on that
Yeah.
we say all the time, but I feel like it's kind of more important
Do
for
you
this
reckon-
episode.
Yeah, do you reckon we should get onto some history?
History, yeah.
Do you want to...
So-
let's have a break first.
Yeah, let's have a break.
So we'll
come
chuck on
back.
the second song, and afterwards, some history on how political correctness came to be.
So we'll come back and have a little history chat about that.
Oh yeah, my favourite.
And yeah, we'll see you in a bit.
Trapped inside your mind, you can't find the answer. Unknown to your surroundings, cause you're focused on a softer life coming from behind you. Hope it's not the end of your lifeline, but you know it's not. It's just the sound of fear making you believe you're insane. Anxiety is a common word in your dictionary. Anxiety is the excuse your friends think you made up to get out of all of life's hard situations. They say you don't fix your problems, you just blame them on anxiety. You are reminded all those voices scream. You have no strength when you hear them sing. A soft death cry coming from behind you. Feel like your life is at the end of the line, but you know it's not. It's just the sound of fear making you believe you're insane. Anxiety is a common word in a dictionary. Anxiety is the excuse your friends think you made up to get out of all of life's hard situations. They say you don't fix your problems. like I'm suffocated by a blanket of fear. I'm drowning in air while I watch you breathe. Now does that sound easy? You know it's not. It's always the sound of fear making me believe I'm insane. Anxiety is a common word in my dictionary. Anxiety is the excuse my friends think I made up to get out of all the life's hard situations. They say you don't fix my problems, I just blame them. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. I'm glad they don't have anxiety.
Welcome back, and so now we're going to be talking a little bit about the history of political correctness.
Yeah.
And I didn't really do much for the history part of it, but Gordon has, so take it away.
I've had a bit of a brush up. So I've been reading into it a bit over the past day or two, and it was first mentioned in the 70s, the term political correctness, and it was used pretty much as a self-descriptor to describe comments as being politically correct in the essence of political correctness in the context of a political background. So let's say you're having a debate in the House of Reps in the UK or the Australia. You'd be making sure to use politically correct terms for the purpose of being politically correct.
What about US, or did they just not care?
They had Congress.
I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, Congress.
Uh-oh, what have you done?
Someone's not being politically correct here.
Yeah, well, in Congress they'd be doing the same thing. So you'd have to make sure you're saying everything just right to make sure the other party who's opposing you and tearing apart your arguments isn't able to tear apart your arguments because it's not correct. And so you see, I've been watching some House of Cards, and you'd see these comments being made by people being absolutely torn to shreds by members of the other party, members of the media, and members... I suppose independent members who want to destroy someone, and they're able to use these comments against them. And yeah, over the past 20 years, or 27 years, geez, time flies. Over the past 27 years since the 1990, the early 90s, it's been used in a slightly different way. It's no longer more of a term used to make sure everything's correct when you're in the House of Reps or the House of Commons, or when you're in Congress, discussing very sensitive topics. It's more used now by the public to talk about touchy comments like racism, sexism, and sort of discrimination against the what are they called? I feel bad now because I'm not getting this right. The minorities, my bad, just a mind blank. So it's people pretty much making sure that no one is kept in the dark about things. No one is unfairly treated because of comments being made, and no one's being unfairly treated because comments not being made about them have led to them being neglected by society. And it's important to keep this up. Well, it's important to keep political correctness up when it comes to general comments that people make, not the details. That's just getting picky, and it serves only. When one goes out of their way to ruin someone's reputation based on a comment, it serves only for the negative of the other person, not for a positive of you. It's only a bad side. But it's more important to keep politically correct terms in use on the largest scale, because if something's politically correct, it tends to be correct. Then you bring in stereotypes and personal opinions, and that does affect it. But if something is politically correct and it's a big enough background, like racism, it helps, because racism is discriminating based on race and ethnicity, where someone comes from, and it helps to keep everyone being treated equally, because it helps to keep society
operational.
That's it.
It helps to keep society clean.
I'm having a mind blank. It keeps it clean, keeps it harmonized. There we go.
Harmonized? Yeah, that works.
Working as one, as opposed to segregating it all, like they did in the up until the 60s, in America and the UK at least. So when people are politically correct, it helps when it comes to more broader terms like racism, like sexism. But when it comes to the finer details, sometimes it's not always the best course of action to call someone out for being not politically correct. So I suppose for the people who make the media, it's important to know what they're talking about, to know what they're saying, make sure everyone's happy with what they're saying, but at the same time, be correct in what they're saying. And that's really the main issue with media nowadays in the 2010s, to make sure no one's upset with what you say, because with media being one of the main forms, coming out as being one of the main forms of monetization when it comes to easy money, so to speak. Well, if you compare it to the 90s, the 80s, it's easier to make money through media than it was then, because you get YouTubers, you get millions of dollars in ad revenue each year. If you're in the top 50 or 100, you're getting paid a lot of money to do what you do well. Same with the news corporations. If you own what's his name? Rupert Murdoch. There we go. If you're Rupert Murdoch and you own the news corporations, you need to make sure everyone's happy with what they're doing. Otherwise, you will go bust. You will run out of money because you're spending it in the wrong places after doing the wrong things. If people aren't happy with what you're putting out there, they won't listen, they won't watch, they won't be indirectly paying you the money, and you won't be able to keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, that's the issue nowadays, instead of simply not getting enough viewers because if you're in the 60s, people just simply don't have televisions. For example, televisions weren't really readily available, as you would find nowadays. You wouldn't find a Harvey Norman selling flat screens around every corner, for example.
I just think that's because there weren't any flat screens around there.
Well, you see my point, Tom.
Yeah, I
see that.
yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
I understand.
Yeah, and it's important to make sure everything you find a fine balance.
You find a fine balance. What?
I don't know.
You find
that's the bottom line. Yeah. I reckon it's the image around political correctness. It's changed. That's for sure, and it's moved from more being a device for tearing people apart to being a device to sort of stopping an entire media flow. So media type. So you get Tom mentioned Keemstar earlier. Outside of the recording.
Okay, yeah, I mentioned this outside of this. I mentioned this outside of the recording.
So I'm taking you out of the safe zone here.
Yeah, he's not very good at.
That's your opinion. He's not universally accepted as a great human being.
Personally, I'm just going to give my honest opinion. I think he is an atrocious human being.
Okay.
I'm just going to put that out there now. There are many reasons why that if I were to say them and you support Keemstar, you wouldn't care what I had to say, even if they were valid or not. People who like him probably wouldn't care, but he is an atrocious man who has broken several laws. If you actually go and look at what he's done and go and look at...
Has he been arrested?
He hasn't been arrested. That's the unfortunate thing. Even though he should have been, and I think there's been quite a couple of complaints. In fact, actually...
In your opinion? In your opinion, he should have been. Because there's until he gets arrested, there's no actual evidence that it can go out there. Because it hasn't been declared evidence.
I mean, he does...
I don't support Keemstar, but for the sake of argument, I will question
I'm not going to
everything.
give the specifics, but he had a stream a while ago that I think somehow you can still access.
Marginalized people.
Where he directly broke a law. I'm not going to say what law it was. You can go and look that up yourself. Giving it to the viewers now, hey? You can go and look that up yourself, but he had a stream open where he got someone to do something that isn't legal. People. And
I see. Oh, I've heard about this story.
Yeah, and just the one thing that some people for some reason don't realize is illegal is cyberbullying, which Keemstar has done a lot.
They know it's illegal. They just choose not to react because it's one of those things where you just take for granted, and most people don't really care about if it happens, even though it's something that should be taken more seriously.
Yeah, but he is just not a good person, and something that is kind of an example of something you should never say, ever.
You're gonna say it now?
I'm gonna say it now.
Don't say it. You should never say it ever, Tom.
No, but this is in quote of what he said.
Okay, quoting Keemstar.
Keemstar said...
Careful. You gotta be careful. It's a rough world out there. You sure you want to say this?
I'm just gonna say this flat out. This is what he said.
Are you saying it because YOLO or because arguments?
I don't really care what people think about me.
Ooh,
but what
damn.
Keemstar said, this isn't word for word, but what he said is that he is white, and this person he was talking to was black, meaning that guy was his slave, and that he runs the world.
Is that what he said?
That is what he said.
Say what he said. So what did he personally say?
He said, I'm white, you're black, you're my slave, I run this bitch. That's
okay.
what he said.
Yeah, okay, I understand now.
Those are things that
that's
atrocious.
like we've left that behind 60 years ago. It's 50 years ago.
Well, we tried
this
to,
year,
but
in Australia, 50 years ago today.
Yeah, that's
Well,
the
not
thing
today,
about
this
Australia, but...
Well, it was worse than the US and the UK. The UK abolished it in 63, 65? Fully in 65. And the Australia had to wait until 67 before it was fully abolished. The whole idea that black people aren't human, I suppose. They were treated as animals until that point. They were scientifically designated as animals in Australia until 1967.
Which is kind of disgusting, seeing as ourselves are animals. Every human is an animal. Every human is an animal. We're all mammals. We're all a species of an animal. That just because we have the ability to talk and think slightly more intelligently than that of like a monkey or something.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean we're superior. I mean...
Not necessarily. It depends who you are. Again, it's
in
all a
way,
question of opinion.
Yeah, in a way we are, but we're not...
We've just decided to change our views as society over the past 50 years.
Society is changing.
Yeah.
But the question is it changing for the better or for the worse?
Mm-hmm.
If it's changing to support the things that really there's no problem with, but for some reason there has been. If we're changing to support those things, that is good.
Yeah.
That is a good way to move.
You got to support change if it's changing for the better. And that's why
That's
why
the
people
thing.
like us have to come in and make
It's good to
these
support change if
statements.
we're changing for the better, but who's to say what is the better?
This took a turn. Jeez, this is getting deep.
Well, unfortunately there are some people
It's still very highly opinionated.
Yeah, that's the thing with the human race. We think what we think is right, but then other people think it's wrong, and then...
Like, you think what Keemstar did was wrong. I'm not on
Yeah,
Keemstar's
no.
side
Like,
here,
I think
but-
what he did is wrong, which a lot of us do, but for some people, they would think what he did was right. I don't know who those people are, but that's a thing, that's their opinion.
Yeah.
And we can't really change that.
You can't
that's just,
say anything to change it,
Yeah, that's just what they think, and they would think that that's right and that we're wrong, and they would think that to the world.
I think the hard bit is when you have an opinion yourself and someone else has a different opinion, you can't do anything to change their opinion, so you just have to deal with it.
You can try and
That's the
persuade
annoying
it,
bit.
but I don't think
Yeah,
you'll
you can have your say, but you just have to deal with it in the end. And that's a good point to wrap up. As podcasters, as people who make talk shows, it's important to make sure people won't have to deal with it. They won't have to have a different opinion to us. We try to help. We try to spread a message across. Not saying it's the right message or the wrong message, just a message, and make sure that people are happy with what they hear. People are happy with what they see, and I think that's what's fun for us.
that we can do what we want to do.
Yeah, those last 10 minutes were deep.
Well, most things are. Most things
if
are.
you think about it, everything gets pretty interesting.
I find that's the thing about humans, just
Human
in general.
nature, yeah.
Human nature.
That's it.
Just
Everything boils down to human nature and how strange it is.
I was told this a while ago from a relative of mine that I kind of don't agree with, and this kind of ties in with the being politically correct. But they said, don't ask a question you don't know the answer to. Now, I personally disagreed with this instantly because that's the point of asking a question, so that you can learn the answer. But to not ask a question because you don't know the answer to, it's like you can't ask this because you don't know yourself, so you have no right to kind of ask this of someone.
That's whoa.
Which is kind of
Do you do philosophy?
I do philosophy.
Okay, I don't.
We don't really.
I have my take, but that's it.
Yeah, we kind of in philosophy we kind of just study
Logic.
It
It used to be called logic.
moral. Yeah, it used to be called logic and reasoning, but we're kind of just studying morality at the moment. But that might change next year.
Like, don't kill people.
Or yeah, some of the questions were, should we kill this or that? And
yeah.
why?
Oh yeah.
But-
Jeez. I thought I could make it bad, but you just made it. Oh.
But anyway,
Wow.
this has been our take on political correctness.
How it should change, how it has changed. Well, not really how it should change, but how it's moved across the spectrum over time. And I suppose now's a good point to jump into our next song. We'll see you in the outro.
Talk to you in a bit.
Sent from above, a room made of clouds, cold from the warmth, a doorway of silver and gold. You've traveled so far, you've gone old. Leave it behind, reading my mind, stalling the line, making this mine. All of these seeds, the ego it feeds. Do you still need a friend? Angel, rise from your ash, stable your feet. Action so rash, mistakes, you shelter yourself. The headaches, masters on shelves. Leave it behind, reading my mind, stalling the line, making this mine. All of these seeds, the ego it feeds. Do you still need a friend? It's not wrong, don't believe it. It's okay if you feel it. Don't pretend you're not worth it, 'cause your wings are made for today. Angels have nothing to fear. They run out of time, but forwards they steer. Careful, you're going too slow. I'll swallow my pride, then we'll go. Leave it behind, reading my mind, stalling the line, making this mine. All of these seeds, the ego it feeds. Do you still need a friend? It's not wrong, don't believe it. It's okay if you feel it. pretend you're not worth it, 'cause your wings are made for today.
Thank you for listening to the podcast today. Find our website at www.mentalmusic.org, and we can also be found on SoundCloud,
And,
iTunes podcast.
So yeah, thank you for listening today. Also, we didn't say this in the intro, and we are supposed to say this, but I guess you kind of get it at this moment. We are just two teens behind a mic. Please do not take...
No need for a disclaimer.
And please do not...
This wasn't a professional episode. There's your disclaimer. There you go.
This
wasn't a professional episode. Anything that we said
just-
shouldn't have been taken as professional anyway.
We're just two teenagers, so if there's something that
This is
offends
just
you...
our opinion.
It's our
This
opinion,
is purely
not
opinion.
yours.
This is not even we didn't even do any hard research with facts. We're just looking at our opinion. Of course, it's supported by facts, but
Oh yeah, obviously we actually do some research. We don't just
it's just
get
there's
in here and
we
start
didn't come in
talking
here
nonsense.
and give you stats
Yeah.
for a change.
Yeah, we're not talking about stats and stuff. We just want to tell you about it. But anything that we do say that might have offended you or offended someone you know or something
Please
like that.
do call us out.
Get
If
checked.
we can change, we can help you stay cool.
Thank you for listening.
Again, the music. You gotta mention the music, man.
I
These
was-
guys help us. It's within the title of our organization, Mental Music. Find the music in the description or at our website. Again, www.mentalmusic.org.
This has got to be the messiest outro, but
It's the coolest outro.
it's the coolest
for-
outro
for
ever because we
days.
don't care.
Well,
if
gotta
you do
care,
have
Tom.
any music that you'd like to send us through, please do. It would be very much appreciated.
We'd love to
And
play your stuff. It's
we-
always fun to see people appreciating us, and so we can appreciate them in return.
I actually love the music that we get, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for listening.
We'll see you in one fortnight's time.